Hello all and welcome to the Winged Review. Now, it's been a while since I've done one of these things, and today we are looking at the Hammer horror box set. I've got a message, and for this, I got given this quite some time ago. I think it was either birthday or Christmas or something. My mum got it for me. I've been a big fan of horror films for quite some time, and I'd heard a lot about the Hammer horror films, and I've never really seen them. So when I got this, it was like, oh, good, fine, I can see what they're... Don't mind Kyle, he's just here for the ride. And I was looking forward to give them a go. I watched a couple of them before deciding to properly watch through them. I think there was Dracula, Prince of Darkness. Christopher Lee, of course, as Dracula is one of his more iconic roles. So I watched that when I first got it, very good. And then I watched The Nanny, which I'd heard was really good. With my mum, actually, she said it was a good film, and they were good films. So it was all good. Then it was quite a few years before I got my own flat, and I thought it was a good opportunity to watch the box set, really. So over the past couple of months, if you're following me on Twitter at HighWallsDefender, every week I do a films I watched this week. Although I should be doing it on a Sunday, but normally I completely forget, and so on the Monday I tend to do it then, so Sunday, Monday time. So for the past couple of months, it's been the Hammer films that I've been watching, plus whatever crops up. So it's taken a while, and ultimately, it was just a bit disappointing. It wasn't... There were some good films, don't get me wrong. The more recent ones, like from the 1970s, those films were... They tended to be sort of slow starters, but ended brilliantly. What have we got? Straight On Till Morning, Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, Horror of Frankenstein was good, Demons of the Mind, Scars of Dracula, Devil Rides Out. Slow. Most films are about an hour and a half, so they're not long, but yeah, they do take a little bit of time to get going. First 45 minutes, you're sort of like, come on, get going. Then it gets going, and they end so well. So it does kind of save the film. But a lot of the ones before that, a lot of the 1960s ones are okay at best. The only one I really did not like is 1 Million Years BC. I think that's right. It's in the middle of the list. Yeah, so that's the list of the films that are on this. If it's going to focus, I hope. Is it going to focus? Hopefully you can read that. There's 22 films, I think. 1 Million BC, it was so dull. Nothing really... I mean, stuff happened, but it was just... There wasn't... Because it was set in 1 Million BC, you know, people hadn't really got the language that they do, so there wasn't a lot of talking, but I just found it boring, and I did consider turning it off, but I thought it'll get better in a minute, and then it ended, and it just never got better. So that is... I did consider doing a top 5 loved and hated Hammer horror films, or just Hammer as it should be. But none of the films were really that bad, and none of the films were really that good. Although, like The Nanny, and a lot of the later films, the Horror of Frankenstein wasn't too bad. Fear in the Night, again, slow, but really good ending. So I compare it a lot to the... I've got the Studio Ghibli collection, and a while ago I did a video on my top 5 loved and hated Studio Ghibli films. Some of the Ghibli films are absolutely fantastic. Some of them are mind-numbingly dull, and a lot are kind of in the middle. This box set tended to have a lot of in the middle, entertaining enough films. Like, you know, The Viking Queen, Quatermass in the Pit, not too bad. Plague of the Zombies, it was alright. Rasputin the Mad Monk, I actually enjoyed more than I thought I would. But even still, it wasn't exactly riveting good time for the hour and a half it was on for. It was entertaining, I enjoyed it, but it's... If people came over and they said, let's watch a film, there's not one film in there that I would go, let's watch it, it's great, we need to watch it. If they said, you've got the Hammer box set, I've heard that, I don't know, The Viking Queen is really good, can we watch it? And it'll be... Yeah, go on then. Give it a go. I'll watch it again. But that would be about it. I mean, Viking Queen, because it's Viking, again, for thinking it was going to be about the Vikings, it's not. Apparently, the word Viking has multiple meanings, and this is one of the lesser known meanings for the word Viking. So it's not what you think it's going to be. But yeah, most of the films, other than 1 million BC, every film in here is probably between a 6 and 7 out of 10. Some of them might get an 8 at a push, mainly because of how well they end, but none of them were amazing. To the Devil a Daughter is the last one. Apparently, it's one of Hammer's very last films before this studio just got scrapped. We're bankrupt. Based on a book, apparently, this does have a few behind-the-scenes things in it, which I did watch as I was going along, and To the Devil a Daughter was one of them. But and it said in there that the films were based on a book. But the guy who they'd done one of the previous Hammer films, I'm not sure if it's one of these, because this doesn't have every single Hammer film in it. It's got about 21 films or something, 21 film set. But they did do a lot more, some of which aren't in here. And the book that To the Devil a Daughter is based on, the guy who wrote the book, one of his other books had previously been made into a Hammer film, which I don't think is one of these. I think it was The Sinner, which isn't in here. And he thought the film was brilliant, he loved it, and he said, if you want to do another one, by all means. So they did To the Devil a Daughter, but they changed it so much, it was a case of, what the hell have you done? You're never doing another one ever again. And that was kind of the end of Hammer after that. It's a shame, because Hammer seem to have this reputation of they do good, gory films. And that's... I don't mind gory films. I mean, things like the Saw franchise and all that. I like the Saw franchise, but it's not because of the traps are fun and all that, but it is the twist ending that I used to watch them for, not the blood, guts and gore. I don't mind blood, guts and gore, but if you're going to get a Hammer box set thinking you're going to get blood, guts and gore, this is not what you're going to get. There is a little bit of blood. To the Devil a Daughter is probably the goriest of the lot, but even that doesn't... The most amount of blood you'll see in that is when someone, they give blood for a satanic thing, and you see all these blood packs lined up ready to be used, and that's the most amount of blood you've ever seen anything in this entire box set. So, I think someone once said, it might have been the Nostalgia Critic years ago, said that what was great about Sleepy Hollow, great film, is because it was sort of an homage to Hammer horror with dark films with brightly coloured blood. And the amount of blood in this is not much whatsoever. So if that's what you're wanting, good, gory horror films, you're not going to get that. A lot of these are more psychological thrillers. What was it called? Straight Until Morning. Again, slow but fantastic ending. Scars of Dracula. A lot of the problem with these films is that they haven't aged very well. With a lot of the really, really early films, I mean, The Nanny is in black and white, but a lot of the subsequent ones have been put into colour. And which one was it? Plague of the Zombies. There was a bit in that where they were going to go and dig up a body, and they said, we need to do this thing, but we're going to have to do it under the cover of darkness, so we'll go at midnight. Midnight comes, these people go along, bright blue sky overhead. So that's midnight, really? Midnight. And in one of the other ones, I can't remember which one it was, there was one, these people, they'd gone somewhere for dinner, and you had these people with wine glasses, and the bloke went, would you like some more wine? Oh yes please. He topped up her glass, and it looked like milk that came out of the bottle into her glass that he filled it up with, which for a black and white film probably looked like wine, but now they put it into colour, it was milk or some sort of white liquidy thing. So it just probably hasn't aged. Back in the day they were probably very, very good for their time and all that. Now not so much. And during Oh, Frankenstein Created Woman. That wasn't too bad, actually. Yeah, that was probably more of a 7.5 out of 10. You know, one of the better ones, but still not exactly riveting all the way through. One of the films, it was the there we are, Horror of Frankenstein. What was it? There was one of them. It was one of the Dracula ones, probably Scars of Dracula, and because you got Christopher Lee being amazing as Dracula again, and if people wear a cross or anything, crucifix, religion and all that, it keeps them away, and this woman had a crucifix, and because he couldn't get near her because of this crucifix, he had this like giant bat that sort of like did his bidding type thing and looked at stuff and did stuff for him, and he sent the bat to get the crucifix off her, and of course the crucifix was nicely nuzzled in her cleavage, because of course it is, and when the bat goes at her to get this crucifix, rather than do what most people would do and swat at it and try and keep it away, she sort of went, no, as it got this, just like, really? And a bloke in it, he got attacked by the same giant bat, and it was nibbling at his face, and rather than doing what most people would do and grabbing it, lobbing it, smacking it with your hands, just doing something, rather than doing that, he just sort of went, no, as it just nibbled him to death, which you sort of think, really? But you just roll with it. It was cheesy fun, I suppose you could say. It was strange. So some of the films you do kind of need to do a bit of a pinch of salt, but ultimately, as far as a Hammer box set goes, it was all right. It wasn't the gory, brilliant, classic horror films I was expecting. Luckily, only one film I would consider to be a bad film, 1 Million BC. The rest of them were entertaining enough, but not entertaining enough for me to actually want to watch again, unless someone comes over and goes, let's watch that, really. So I don't know how much this box set goes for on eBay or something like that, so I could look it up, but meh. But really, unless you are sort of like a proper die-hard Hammer fan, it's probably not worth really watching, particularly if you haven't seen any of the films before and you're just more curious about it. You're probably better off just to look for... If you're going to look for them individually, right, let's have a look. That's kind of the end of it now, so by all means, watch something else. I'm going to go through them one by one now and actually say whether or not they were good or bad or just a general quick yes, no type thing. So, She, the very first one, not too bad. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Have a look on Twitter over the past few months at my hashtag films I watched this week, and they'll all be on there. So you got She, The Nanny, that was quite good. Dracula, Prince of Darkness, classic, Christopher Lee. Plague of the Zombies. Zombies have been done a lot since then, so as long as you can look at it as a case of this is one of the earlier zombie films, but if you want early zombie films, I think it's Night of the Living Dead is one of the pretty much the very first film. Watch that instead, that's better. Rasputin the Mad Monk, actually quite enjoyed that one. The Reptile, not bad. That might have been the film with the milk wine. Not bad. Yeah, but again, nothing major. The Witches, it was good. Yeah, not bad. Quite enjoy. Again, probably one of the 7.5-y, maybe 8 at a push. But there was a rather long, drawn-out, dancey sequence thing, ritual malarkey, which it just went on far too long. I think I've ended up fast-forwarding it in the end. But 1 million years BC, horrendous. The Viking Queen, that, yeah, not bad, yeah, it's alright, I guess, not bad, yeah. Frankenstein Created Woman, I have no idea what that one was. I cannot remember that one in the slightest. I might have to have a quick look at it's got a little sleeve insert. Frankenstein Created Woman. Rasputin the Witches, 1 million years BC. Frankenstein Created Woman. One of the last films, blah, blah. It's got Christopher... Oh, no. Oh, who's that guy? He was in quite a lot of them. I think he played... he was in Star Wars. He died, and there was a big outcry because they did the whole CGI version of him in one of the latest ones. Oh, what's his name? He was very good in a lot of the films he was in. And he was in Frankenstein Created Woman. But I can't remember much about that film. I'll have to give that one another watch. So after Frankenstein Created Woman, Quartermass in the Pit, that was, I think that's when you start to get to 1970, and that's where things start to pick up. CGI and visual effects for that film aren't necessarily great, but not a bad film. Yeah, that was alright. Vengeance of She, not as good as almost like a direct sequel happening years later. Not as good as She, but still quite good. The Devil Rides Out, that one, again, they tried to experiment a lot with CGI in that one, and 1971 CGI, not that great, but particularly, I think that was the one, was it that one? It might have been one of the previous ones. They'd pretty much just videoed a regular spider and then tried to sort of impose it onto people. So it was like they were fighting a giant spider, and it just looked terrible. Vengeance of the Devil Rides Out. Prehistoric Woman. That wasn't too bad. I was worried it would be a little bit like 1 million BC, but it wasn't, and it actually wasn't that bad. Scars of Dracula, that's the one with the bat. Not bad at all. No, it was alright, yeah. Horror of Frankenstein, that was actually not too bad either. Yeah, I think we're getting onto the better ones, yeah. So the first half, bar the odd one. The second half, much better. Horror of Scars of Dracula, Horror of Frankenstein. Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. I think that one, a good idea, badly executed with that one, really. It just seemed to meander quite a bit. Straight On Till Morning, again, good idea, badly executed. Ended fantastically well, but the first half, a bit slow, dull, and it's one of those things where you can't kind of take anything out because you wouldn't get to know the characters, what's going on and all that, so it kind of does need to be there. It's just a bit of a slog getting through it. But again, ended really, really well. Fear in the Night. That would be one of the better ones. Again, slow to start, but my God, does that end well. And I didn't see the twist ending coming. I quite enjoyed that one. That would probably be one of the better ones. Definitely. As in, if I did a top 5 loved, probably Fear in the Night, To the Devil a Daughter, probably the Horror of Frankenstein was quite good. So top 5, To the Devil a Daughter. What do we have? Horror of Frankenstein. This is difficult. See, it's difficult because some of them are good, but to think top 5, they might be top 5, but they're still not exactly brilliant. So after Straight On the Morning, Fear in the Night, yeah, that was very good. Demon of the Mind, that was strange. I'm not sure. Again, being of the mind, it was very, very weird. Not bad, but it was just meh. And then To the Devil a Daughter, a good film. I don't know how it compares to the book, but I quite enjoyed the film. That was kind of nasty. Had some rather horrific stuff going on in it, so that was good. But so yeah, for the most part, it was an alright box set. I wouldn't watch any of them again unless someone came over and said, let's give it a watch. So there we go. If you're a massive horror Hammer fan, give it a go. Otherwise, look up the films individually. Focus camera. There we go. See you next time.